later. We're a little ahead of ourselves today because we were talking about time travel last segment.
That's what we get for letting Pocky out of his box.
Yeah, we should let Pocky out of the box.
No, Raven! Who's Raven?
All right, so
Pre-made dubstep.
welcome back to Fanservice today, as we're going to be talking about gaming with a special guest on the phone as we discuss the future. Like I brought at the beginning, it was kind of interesting that we had Super Comic-Con last week where we talked about the future of gaming, and this week we actually are presented with the guy who's kind of helping that.
Right.
So on the phone with us today is Jimmy Chan. Say hello to Jimmy, everybody.
Hey guys, how are you?
We're good. We're really good. We're really excited to talk to you about this idea you have of what you guys are building for this thing called the PlayTable. So for people who may not exist on an online or a social media setting, tell everybody what PlayTable is.
So PlayTable is the world's first board game console. And it's this idea that you can play 100,000 different board games in one single device.
So it's kind of like an e-reader, but for board games.
Yeah, think of it like Netflix or a Steam for board and card games.
So, and you've been getting a lot of positive reception over this. Can you name any of the games that they can play real fast?
So we've been actually working on this for about 2 years now. We just started doing some testing publicly and started talking to a couple of people. So, and our release cycle is going to be in the next 3 to 4 months, going public fully with it.
Cool. Well, that's pretty awesome.
Go ahead.
So my question for you is, were you just sitting around your house one day and you have these 3 walls full of board games going, man, I wish there was a better way to play these games?
No, it actually started out a little bit more primitively than that. I've been playing Catan for about 10 years now, ever since I was in high school. And I've always wanted to make the tiles really, really custom. I wanted to make them light up, and have a big electronic geek. So one day, me and a group of engineers kind of sit around and we're like, let's make some custom tiles for Catan and see what would happen. So we built that, and then eventually we got into a screen, and then we got into adding physical pieces. So altogether, we started doing this as a garage project, and then it wasn't until about a year ago when someone in the gaming industry saw us, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, this could actually make a business." Microsoft tried this out back in 2005 with the Surface table that cost $10,000. And
I remember that.
yeah. And, it just so happens our product is a lot simpler. The technology has gone a lot, further, and it's matured. So it's going to be consumer friendly. And so the idea of having a, Dungeons and Dragons table where you can change up the terrain is going to be real. The idea of having board games easier to play, being able to customize them better, discover new games, learn, try, play, teach, all these different things are something that digital force that really, the physical format can't provide. But at the same time, we found out that, hey, for board and card games, there isn't really a true digital version that preserves that social aspect of board and card games. So we believe that there needs to be a new device for something like that. So that's really how the entire story of PlayTable came about.
Well, I find it interesting that it began with the game of Catan, because that seems to be like the staple board game on every gamer's list. I won Catan once with 3 outposts and 3 roads surrounding 1 block.
Yes, because you're cheap.
No, I won. I got my victory points and everything. While they're busy battling out, I circled 1 piece. Catan has the best stories, and so it's really interesting to hear that was kind of the origin of how this started.
I've never played it, so I'm at a loss.
Why are you on the show if you've never played Catan?
That's my weakness. That's your strength. That's how we bounce.
So yeah, I think the great thing about Catan here is it really sort of highlights the importance of people in the game. You look at games like Texas Hold'em, it's the same thing. When you add people what do you like about playing Texas Hold'em? It's the people, it's the betting, it's the chips, but nobody likes being the guy who has to be the dealer or the shuffler, or if you got knocked out, you're sort of automatically assigned to be the shuffler.
I actually love being a dealer. So.
Well, I think one of the things I thought that was so interesting watching these videos is like I have no idea how to set up Arkham Horror.
Right.
Like that game is so complex. I've only played it once. This is a nice way to streamline it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Arkham Horror, I always make the joke, you need 3 hours to play Arkham Horror. Because the first hour of it is just going to be you setting up that board. It is insane. You also said D&D. I'm a huge tabletop guy. I back Kickstarters for this stuff all the time. Have you gotten a lot of companies, Peggy or Pinnacle or any of these guys, to also team up with you to work doing the role-playing games?
We just started doing conversations with a couple of these brands that you're mentioning. I can't say any specific ones just yet, because
Pocky.
that's a big part of, we have to keep some of this stuff in lockdown. But we are talking to, all the brands or games that you probably know and have heard of.
So one thing
I don't know. Pocky knows a lot of really obscure RPG games. So
Look, just
when you
because
talk about RPGs and stuff, I mean, I think a big part of what we're working on is actually. Can you guys still hear me?
yeah.
Yes, we're good.
Okay. Yeah, a big part of what we're working on our end is also having this idea of being able to create new board games, customize existing board games, so almost like a tabletop simulator. I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard of Tabletop Simulator.
Yep.
It's very, very similar. This idea that we want to empower the community to really create new experiences. And if you really, really think about board and card games, what are board and card games but a giant sandbox, with a rule book attached to it, right?
Some of them with really big rule books.
Yeah, or several.
Yeah.
And so and so we really, really want to make that process, a lot more streamlined. And with a digital device, we are going to add, different elements that you otherwise can't have, like sound, effects. Animations, character, all these things are going to really create a more immersive experience for all the people that are going to be participating. I mean, I know there's one guy in Australia, he has a projector that's hooked up to a sound system, and he's playing D&D with the PowerPoint attached.
Wow.
He was using PowerPoint to change the terrain, and the whole setup was kind of like this really expensive, heavy, full of friction. And we believe, there's something like that out there, sort of that our device can really, truly replace. But on the other side, you're also talking about, the general sort of the public, who might not be into heavy games, that they're, looking for entry-level games like, that are really, really easy to play, party games and card games. Mm-hmm. And we think, that's something that we can also sort of provide, because really what we're focused on is this idea of really bringing people together, and bringing the fun back to Friday nights, because we generally believe that board and card games are a great way for us to sit around a table, playing together, build relationships, exercises creativity, and really create cherished memories. And it's really all about evoking that simple joy of playing together in person with friends and family.
Well, one thing I'd like to interject for is kind of piggybacking off of what you said about the guy in Australia. Pocky and I are pretty heavy streamers, and we're about ready to stream one of the games from Peg Inc., Rippers. Rippers. Rippers and Riffs, I always get the two switched. But one thing we're looking at doing is actually streaming where the characters are by a extra camera on top of the board that's having the moving pieces. I didn't see it in the video preview of your device, but have you entertained the idea of having like an HDMI out so someone can actually stream the screen outward?
Hello?
Did we lose him?
It sounds like he fell down the stairs.
I hope not.
That would be awfully embarrassing.
Hello? Did we lose?
Well, you bring up an interesting point. That was one of the things I wanted to find out, because is there a way to hook it up to an external output and stream it? It'd be perfect for that.
Yeah,
Because
it makes some
streaming community
sense.
has gone beyond just video games. They're now getting into
the board gaming and stuff like
the
that.
Things like that, yeah, and now painting and stuff, creativity. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
And it's interesting that that's where the streaming gamings are going. They're kind of going into the physical tabletop realm, which brings a whole different experience and volume than just streaming video games.
Yeah.
Right.
And I also
yeah, you guys got cut out for a bit.
Oh, that's
we have
all
you
right.
back.
Good.
Okay, so Kimberly had a question.
I'll sum it up really quick. But basically, with what you said about the guy in Australia, have you entertained the idea of putting something like an HDMI out on the device? That way they could hook it up to, say, a PC that's streaming the game. That way they can also encapsulate what's happening to the characters as well as the people who are actually playing. Because Pocky and I are looking to do something very, very similar, like about 2-3 months away.
Absolutely. So with us, the general process that we're going through is with the hardware development. We think we can get a really, really low price point, that's affordable for everyone. If we're able to give like that HDMI out for people to plug in their laptops, and using your laptop almost like as a brain to do the processing and all the sort of the heavy stuff. And so on our side, we won't have to have a computing unit inside of the device.
Okay.
And that's really going to allow for everyone to be able to afford something like this.
And then they could stream from there.
Yeah.
Now, one of the questions that I really want to ask is because when you fundamentally change something like this, and I'm going to go to the e-book readers, people fight against it. Like, there are people who are diehard. They hate e-books. They hate e-readers. You got to have the physical book. Have you come across anyone fighting against this idea of replacing board games with digital copies? And they're like, no, you got to have the dice and all this stuff in your hand?
Yeah, I think, there's definitely some purists that I've gotten a chance to talk to. And I mean, by the way, our system works with physical pieces, so that's to sort of quell some of the fears around it. But I think really what they're sort of confusing us with is, a lot of people associate this idea of having a screen with being antisocial.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the case here. Because I think for board and card games, it's less about the medium that you're using and more about the people sitting around a table and you interact with them.
I agree with that entirely.
Yeah. I have a question because rules for a lot of games. Are you guys going to keep up to date on some of the rules? I know constantly, like Fantasy Flight.
There's always new revisions. Like Warhammer's notorious for that.
Well, even like Fantasy Flight, like, hey, we accidentally didn't play this well, test it very well, or Flying Frog Studios, which is famous for not playtesting any of their games. So are you guys like it? Where like, hey, this is version 0.3 of this rule book. Here's what they changed. Are you guys going to include that as a feature in your setup?
Absolutely. So it's going to depend on the publisher.
Yeah.
But for us, we think when you're looking at board game publishers, even board game creators, imagine having a platform where you can roll out an early test amongst 1,000 different people and be able to iterate the creation of a board game super duper fast. I mean, I think that can be really, really useful to the entire industry. And, now you're also talking about customizations and localizations. So it might not make sense to make, the Indian version of, Risk, for instance, because there just isn't enough demand for it.
Yeah.
But on digital, you just upload a JPEG, change a couple of different things, and you can appease and really delight the customer that would want something like that.
You brought up an interesting point because this is one of the things you bring up in the videos that are online is you can kind of make your own games and you can use figures with NFC chips like Infinity and we were talking about at the beginning of the show. I've got like all the Infinity figures and Disney cancels the game. I've got Amiibos. I don't even own a Nintendo. So when it comes to the game creation side of it, is there going to be a program that you can use that anybody can use, or is it going to be kind of something that you're going to have to understand coding and logic for and really put some time into?
I wish I could show you how easy it really is to create any kind of experience. So when it comes to having these stickers, which will be included as a part of the device, you take the sticker, you put it on the device, and you just basically do an association, right? You just tell the computer, hey, listen, I want this sticker to be this particular character. Now you can actually use that sticker and use any toy, stick it on there. So you don't even have to buy like a specific toy. You can just use an existing RPG figurine that you already have and play with those figurines.
You like Rippers? Oh, not Ripper, Bones.
Like Bones and Reaver miniatures?
Yeah,
Like you
Reavers.
could just go buy like, you could do Warhammer versus Hordes versus like Mickey Mouse. I mean, that would be the most messed up game ever.
Or even 3D print your own. I mean, the sky's the limit, really.
You really could.
Exactly.
So the game making interface is pretty simple, and it uses stickers. Now, can you reuse the stickers, or do you have to rebuy stickers?
You can absolutely reuse the stickers. We're using standard RFID chips.
Okay.
We would create some awfully
Yeah,
messed
it's been
up
around
games.
for 30 years.
You would just make a game where you kill everybody, and then that's how you win.
Well, see, this is a fun aspect because to make your own board game, you can use Game Crafter, which is an on-demand print service, which we have an account with, and I've made a game with. It was a lot of work to put into it, and then you got to order copies and test them. This would just kind of streamline it before you decide to do everything physically. Okay. But do you think this is going to open up an entire market of e-board games now? Like we can buy either the physical copy or the digital copy, and there won't be any price difference because let's face it, there really isn't in digital stuff anymore.
Well, except they keep the like Fantasy Flight. They have a tendency to like make $100 games. Will this make it that $100 game not $100?
I definitely think it's a platform like this will open up new avenues. I mean, one of the demos that we have, I don't want to sort of say any sort of names publicly, but it's a game that involves a bunch of plants fighting against zombies.
I love that game. I haven't.
And imagine playing that game on a device like this, right? Now you can have a social experience with something like that, and now we've created a whole new category of tower defense games that works for sort of like this board game genre, and that to me is an interesting thing. It's not just being able to play existing board and card games, but also this idea that you can reimagine existing ones and even invent new ones.
I worry about that because my wife gets sweary in versus games, so now she'd be like, "Oh my, like sweetie, you can't cut somebody else like that."
So we have about 5 minutes left. The question I wanted to bring up at the end, and we talk about how gaming is a very social experience when it comes to board gaming, but sometimes this is why video games are so popular because you can play with people in other cities and other states, family members everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you plan on maybe putting like a Wi-Fi capability so if two of these tablets can like log into the same game and you could play with your deployed family overseas? You can play Battleship in 2 different rooms so you can't cheat. Do you think that there's a market to expand it out into an online world so you can play with more people?
Absolutely. That's actually our number one requested feature that we haven't fully built in yet, but it's completely capable because all of the stuff that we're doing is stuff we're already, like a lot of these games we're working the networking off the internet. And we're definitely in the early stages, but that's one of the things that we want to sort of focus on is, you have a family of 5 sitting in a living room in Ohio somewhere, and grandma is in California.
And she really wants to play Go Fish.
Yes, and she wants to play Go Fish or Twilight Struggle,
I can see Grandma playing Twilight Struggle.
Grandma playing Twilight Imperium. 3 a.m. Twilight Imperium. Go us. I have my biggest concern about this product though is I have one big concern.
Okay.
I'll have that friend. Table flip.
Oh, the gamer rage.
The rage quit.
How sturdy is
Oh
this
my
thing
God!
gonna
There goes
be?
$1,000.
I would Velcro it to my table.
Okay, so when it comes to that table flip, we thought of that scenario.
Oh, you're awesome.
And believe it or not, we haven't tested it for a table flip yet. But when you look at the glass is actually industry grade glass, so you can actually bang on it, put drinks on it. It's waterproof.
Nice.
And,
you can make your drink a character.
Oh,
and
my coffee takes your castle.
Yeah, and it's funny because like one of the units, I was actually taking it down to LA, and my girlfriend, she dropped the unit, I think from about 2 feet. And when she met me at the airport, she was crying because she's like, I dropped one of your units. And I was like, it's okay. Like, I think the engineering here should be fine. I think I've hired the best hardware engineers I know. And lo and behold, it survived. With just a little ding on the side, cosmetic ding, and we were able to use it. So we've thought about those scenarios. We know there's people like that.
We're pointing at Pocky.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't table flip. I believe in the integrity of games. But let's just say I know some guys will test that theory.
All right, so last question. As you've been developing this, what is the craziest game you have actually made and played on your system?
So along the lines of having it last, we actually have this one demo where there's like these zombies, and it's almost like a whack-a-mole where the zombies are trying to attack your tower. And we put the RFID stickers on like a hammer, like one of those rubber hammers.
Nice.
So now you can play whack-a-mole on this device.
Well, they really thought of making that thing sturdy. Hitting that thing with a rubber hammer?
No, it's one of the squeaky hammers.
Oh, that'd be like one of those baby ones that makes you squeak. That would be even more hilarious.
So, are you gonna take this? Are you taking this to any major convention in the near future? Like, with people who are watching us or what thing want to come see it working, they like either come to your site or are you going to be at a convention soon?
Yeah, we'll be at E3, Gen Con, as well as PAX.
All 3 packs or just one of the packs?
At PAX West in Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay, PAX Prime. Okay.
So, last but not least, where can people find out more information about this and how to help pre-order it?
So pre-orders will be open in 3 months. We're going to be launching a Kickstarter campaign in September. In the meantime, you can go to playprism.com and enter your email, and we'll keep you posted with the updates. That's PlayPrism.com.
Well, thank you, Jimmy, for coming on. When we saw this on the internet, we've been talking back and forth to get you on the show because it's just a great idea, but there's questions that need to be asked and answered.
Absolutely.
I really like the fact you had Elsa fighting Mario because there's no way Mario would win that battle. I'm sorry.
maybe with a fire flower.
Not even with a fire flower. Elsa would just be done, and then she'd call in the Hulk. So yes, thanks you again for being on the show. It was a great deal of fun, and we'll look forward to the Kickstarter and catching you. I know we have crew probably going to Gen Con. They'll probably come and bug you. Be like, hey, let's beat this thing with a hammer here, see what happens.
Exactly. All righty.
You're like,
thanks a lot for having
you
me.
get the squeezy hammer. We know who you are.
I bring my own hammer.
All right, so that was Jimmy Chan on talking about PlayTable with us. Next up, we are going to do... The next one is Gorilla. Gorilla is their mother, and I want to know...
And she's got 72 children.
Who slept with her to have 72 children? Someone that evil who eats babies.
She's got 3 different husbands and 72